Whenever I hear Smith & Wesson, I think back to my first firearm I ever bought, 40 caliber SV40. I love that thing, still have it today. And ever since then, Smith & Wesson has always been a common firearm company in my home. Whether it be your little revolvers, M&P, Grandpa's old gun, or even the newer ones that law enforcement carries, M&P Shield. But they're all made in America. My favorite caliber, 40 caliber, made by Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson Sigma, even though it was a complete failure flop, I had to buy one just to have it for collection. Then I thought, well, what do we know about Smith & Wesson? Who were these two men? How come they're so significant to firearms and firearm history? Let's find out. Horace Smith was born in 1808 in Cheshire, Massachusetts. Not very much is known about his earlier life. He was employed by the U.S. Armory Service from 1824 to 1842, where he moved to Connecticut. He was employed by multiple gun makers, mostly doing gunsmith work in the 1840s. He then moved to Norwich, Connecticut. His partners in Cranston Smith is known while in Norwich. He engaged in manufacture of whaling guns, and he is credited with inventing explosive bullets that were used to kill whales, to puncture the blubber layers. Later on, in 1852, he would meet up with Daniel B. Wesson, and they would both create multiple companies together and be longtime through-life business partners. Daniel Wesson was born in 1825 in Worcester, Massachusetts. In his early life, his father was a farmer, but his father also manufactured wooden plows. Daniel's worked on his father's farm for the majority of his life. However, he apprenticed with his brother, Edwin Wesson, who was manufacturing target rifles and pistols in the 1840s in Northborough, Massachusetts. In 1854, he met his business partner, Horace Smith, and another person named Cortland Palmer. They developed lever-action pistols. It was the first repeating rifle. This was under their company, Volcanic Repeating Arms. He was actually the plant manager where all the manufacturing was taking place. They obtained the licensing of the Rollin White rear-loading cylinder patent. Patents in the 1800s for firearm companies were important. They wanted to get the edge on the competition, military contracts. Sam Colt was a master at this, so he was one of their biggest competitors at the time. In the year 1852, Horace Smith and Daniel B. Wesson formed a partnership for the purpose of developing the magazine arms. Later, they would be manufactured under their new title, Smith & Wesson name. They founded the Smith & Wesson Company with Cortland Palmer in Norwich, Connecticut in 1854 to develop firearms and the volcanic rifle, the first repeating rifle ever made. Smith developed a new volcanic cartridge, which he had a patent for in 1854, and the Smith & Wesson Company was renamed Volcanic Repeating Arms in 1855 and was financed largely by Oliver Winchester, who at the time was actually a clothing salesman. In 1856, the partners left Volcanic, began a new company, and to manufacture a newly designed revolver and cartridge combination. Volcanic Repeating Arms was actually completely bought out by Oliver Winchester. During this time period, they moved to New Haven, and eventually it would be called Winchester Arms. He ran into a man named Benjamin Tyler Henry, who developed the Henry lever-action rifle. The rifle was popular with cavalry and ranchers. Later on, Winchester would have a 19-year business relationship with John Browning, buying multiple patents of his as well as different designs in general. While all of this was going on, in 1857, Smith & Wesson formed another Smith & Wesson company, this time to produce a pistol that has interchangeable parts, repeating action, a revolving magazine, metallic cartridges, and an open cylinder. They developed more firearms using their patents along with patents and licenses bought from other gunsmiths. In 1856, Smith & Wesson began to produce a small revolver designed to fire the rimfire cartridge they'd patented back in August of 1854. This revolver was the first fully self-contained cartridge revolver available in the world. Smith & Wesson secured patents for the revolver to prevent other manufacturers from producing a cartridge revolver, giving the young company very lucrative business and the edge on the competition. At 65, Horace Smith retired from the company, sold his remaining shares to Wesson, making him the sole owner of the company all through the 1800s. They introduced the line of hammerless revolvers, which style is still produced to this day, and in 1899, Smith & Wesson introduced what's arguably the most famous revolver they've ever designed and worldwide for military and police, the 38 M&P, Model 10. Although Horace Smith had thrown in the towel and decided to retire, Dan Wesson continued to move the company forward. The company then developed a revolver called the Smith & Wesson M&P 38. This model revolver was with a K-frame with a hand ejector. The development was 1899. The model would continue to evolve. It would accept a 38 special cartridge as well as a double-action firing system. Every military and law enforcement agency wanted them. The United States Army and the United States Navy had ordered 6,000 to be produced to be put into service. More success had continued to flow for Smith & Wesson. Multiple firearms. Every time the firearms changed, Smith & Wesson has always been there, put their version out. They set the innovative standard for firearm development, and they just kept going and going with it. Amazing what two partners can do. Their achievements, what they accomplished, and how they pioneered the firearm industry. The innovation, the designs, the concepts, all from Smith & Wesson, are still used to this very day. Although some of the patents have expired, they're always coming up with new things for firearms, and hopefully we'll see something come out from them fairly new in the future here. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.